this issue of technology. We kind of talked about it in the debate about the value of technology. Because there's this question from Mahmoud where he's saying that, or not Mahmoud, from Wasi. Brother, there's an argument from atheists that what Islam has given to humanity, what has Islam given to humanity? All scientific revelations and technology we're using come from the West. Which Muslims, so technology has this inherent value. What have Muslims contributed to technology? This is, this is not a new argument. The Enlightenment thinkers themselves pointed to the value of technology. That's what justified. Science and technology is what justifies the white man to civilize the rest of the world, because science and technology will bring utopia. Science and technology pulls humanity out of the darkness of religion into the light of prosperity and progress. That is the basic argument that underlies all of liberalism. So this is something that is important to emphasize, but we can't get into all the details right now. But liberalism and technology are intimately connected. Liberalism requires this notion of technology because liberalism is based on this notion of progress and progressivism, that humanity is advancing scientifically, rationally, morally, and technologically. The idea of technology is really central to that mythos of the West and of the enlightened West. So ever since the scientific revolution in the 17th century, 18th century, the West has this view of itself as being just smarter and better and having the key to utopia, which is technology, and therefore having the responsibility to civilize the rest of the world, to bring them to the light of progress. And the idea how technology is related to liberalism is that freedom is possible through technology. When you invent the automobile, that frees you from a lot of responsibilities that you have in terms of tending for a horse, for example, feeding a horse, maintaining these kinds of riding animals. That's a lot of work. But an automobile, all you have to do is put some gas in it and it runs. So that technology is freeing you. It's liberating you. So technology and liberalism go hand in hand. And what we have to recognize, however, is that these kinds of technological advancements have a huge cost on human civilization. They have a huge cost on what it means to be a human being itself. And we can talk about environmentalism and pollution. That's really the least of it. Polluting the world is really the least of our worries here. And I kind of referred to this in the debate when I asked Ridvan about what he thinks of transhumanism. Because transhumanism, and he said it outright, that transhumanism is going to lead to the extinction of human beings. Because if our ultimate goal is just this kind of freedom, liberty through pleasure, making things as easy as possible, just physical benefits, then that can advance and advance and advance technologically until you reach a point where you're no longer a human being. You could just be a brain in a vat, and there's a dopamine drip that is keeping you in a constant state of pleasure. So, and that's why I asked him, do you think that that's really a good end for humanity? And he wasn't really able to contend with that question. I think it might be because he didn't really understand the point. But the idea is that, yeah, you can reach that state of constant pleasure, but you no longer are a human being. And really, is that a valuable life? Is that a life worth living, where you're just a brain in a vat? How is that a life worth living? All of the joys in having a physical, tangible life are annihilated, have been destroyed because of the technology. So all technologies produce this. All technologies create this destruction of certain aspects of our lives. Right now we're using technology Facebook, social media, laptops, running water, electricity, air conditioning, automobiles, so on and so forth. So we're just used to, like, we have become acclimated to these technologies, and these technologies are all we know. So it's hard when you're in that situation, when you're in that context, that's all you've known your whole life. It's hard to imagine what has been lost. What really is the opportunity cost of this technology? And it's not clear that someone, if we brought someone from the past into our present circumstances, like from 100 years ago, or even not even that long, like bring someone from that you might know, someone who's elderly. The elderly are often talking about how much life has changed and so many things are worse because of technology. Technology has made those things worse, and they've lived long enough to see that decline and to see the harms of that. So talk to someone who's older, but then if you look at even more time, 100 years, 200 years, 300 years, 1,000 years, how has human life changed and been distorted and mutilated? These are the questions that we need to raise when it comes to the issue of technology. Again, it's kind of a non sequitur to say that, oh, well, then why don't you leave all technology aside? You're a hypocrite. How can you argue against technology when you use technology? I mean, I do envision, or I do imagine, like, what would life be like? Can we get to a point where we walk back our dependence on technology? And what would be the result of that? Those are things that I think should be seriously considered. But, you know, these are just questions at this point, and I think that if we investigate them with an open mind instead of these cliches of, oh, technology is so wonderful, we just need more and more technology. This is the consumerist, capitalist addiction that has subjugated so much of the world. It's a system that relies on a lot of suffering, and it causes a lot of suffering, even from those who supposedly are benefiting from it the most. So we have to be aware of these dynamics. Okay, let me try to do quick fire answers to questions. So if you want to see the result of the debate, or you want to see what people think about the result of the debate, I posted a lot of screenshots of comments from Ridvan's fans who hate me but support him, who had a lot of funny comments against him. Like, one person said I ritually humiliated Ridvan. I thought that was pretty funny. And then there was also Ridvan's anxiety attack. So when he did his live stream about how dishonest I am and how deceptive I am, I'm this tricky, evil Muslim, he had a anxiety attack and was almost on the verge of crying. So if you want to see that, go ahead. Yeah, here's a comment that is good. In my dozens of books on science and technology, I show that none of today's technologies since Newton are sustainable, and that's because they're inherently based on anti-conscious conscience agenda. So I don't know about what anti-conscious agenda means, but yeah, none of these technologies are sustainable. They can't, and that's very clear. That's, I think, an environmentalist point, but it's also, I think, a point about human nature and how much humans can just consume. Like, we don't have infinite capacity to consume. That is a big psychological drain, and it's leading to a lot of problems for society. How much can society really take and hold itself together with the kind of changes that are being introduced through capitalist corporatism? And I think we find a lot of breakdown, and sometimes it manifests itself with crime. Sometimes it manifests itself with psychological issues, mental health, suicide rates. Some of the highest suicide rates are found in highly developed, prosperous countries. Why? Isn't that a contradiction, or isn't that like a problem that needs to be explained? So we find this kind of breakdown of society, the solution that the liberal secular state has is to impose more control and create more prisons to lock people up, create new policies on locking down entire countries being locked down. Like, I hope people appreciate, like, let's put the debate on whether COVID is dangerous or not to the side. We can have that conversation, but just reflect on the possibility of locking people down, an entire country, the amount of power that requires to keep people in their homes. That's scary. That's very scary power. And we would be naive to not be worried about it, or to think that one day that power won't be used in an extremely draconian way against the population. Yeah, so if I said something that really disturbed you or didn't make sense, I apologize. Please message me. I respond to messages usually, because I don't want to be causing anyone any doubts or any confusion. Like I said, alhamdulillah, all of these issues, I've been talking about them, teaching them for many years, and don't have any worries or anxiety about these kinds of issues or these questions. Slavery, concubines, hudud, capital punishment, all of these are very easily addressed, alhamdulillah. So we can work on it together, and that's why I worry about sometimes with live streams and just short videos, because sometimes you worry, am I causing doubts on this issue? But the level of non-Muslim propaganda and Murtad propaganda has been so great that they force us to talk about these issues, and they force us to really address them. And alhamdulillah, we have no problem addressing them. There are no holes. Okay, let me emphasize this. There are no holes in our tradition, in our scholarly tradition, in our intellectual tradition. So we can easily address all of these issues, inshallah. And don't let some dumb Murtad that you read online worry you about your faith, or about your relationship with Allah, or the rationality or the truth of Islam. Never let these stupid people cause you doubts. All of these issues are easily addressed, inshallah. So I just want to convey that to you all. I hope you enjoyed this post-debate analysis. And like I said, I'm going to keep up with the channels. I'm trying to be very regular with posting new content. If you have suggestions for things that you want me to address or to make videos on, please suggest them in the comments. If you can also message me, as I said before. And I hope that we're going to talk about these issues more and more, and just build more arguments against these attacks on Islam. And we're going to go on the offensive. We're going to go on the offensive. We're going to really deconstruct some of these ideologies. And on my channel, a lot of other good Muslim brothers are also doing this work, so I recommend that you support them. I mentioned brother Farid. Farid Responds, who has hands down the best material on Ridvan, the Murtad. So check his channel out, subscribe, and follow him on Twitter. You can follow me on Facebook and Twitter, and subscribe on YouTube, inshallah. Barakallahu feekum, and we'll see you next time, inshallah. Jazakumullahu khaira, wa assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
السلام عليكم. لا تنسوا الاعجاب بالفيديو والاشتراك في القناة تشجيعا لنا لنستمر بنشر المزيد إن شاء الله.